828, Big 550, KTRS. Housing starts are up. People are buying and selling homes. What about the interest rates? Stuart Rosenblum from Stuart's American Mortgage comes in to talk about that. What is the Fed saying about interest rates? Stuart Rosenblum.
Good morning, McGraw. How are you today?
We're great. How are you?
Well, the Fed is kind of wavering on interest rates. At first, they had given indication that they weren't going to raise rates, and this has been happening all year.
Right.
They weren't going to raise rates, and then Yellen recently came out and said by the end of the year they aren't going to raise rates. So what's really going on with the Fed? And what's happening is you have to look at the bigger picture. GDP and growth of our country since the post-war era has been on a steady incline at a certain rate. I think it's some 3.2 to 3.5%. The last 5 to 10 years, that growth rate has significantly dropped. So even though there's indications that the economy is doing better, our actually GDP and our growth rate is not consistent with the same percentages that have been going on average since post-war era. So that's one challenge. The other challenge that we're seeing is that even though you're seeing some indication that employment figures are better, what they're not telling you is that there are a lot of people that are exiting the employment market, and those employment figures are just replenishing the people that are leaving the market, and it's not creating really brand new jobs. And furthermore, those jobs that are being retained by all of us and with our employers we're not getting significant or large enough increases to correspond to the potential inflation
So what does that mean for interest rates?
Well, it means that the Fed really doesn't know what to do. They're afraid to raise it because they're not getting good indications that the economy is really going along in a strong manner and that we're not growing properly.
Right.
At the same time, they don't want to keep things at the levels that they've kept over the last, 10, 15 years
right.
and not raise the interest rate. So they're kind of up in the air. I think what we're going to see, though, is we're going to see some rise, but it's not going to be dramatic. I think you'll see in the next 12 months a maximum increase of maybe 1% over what the interest rates are today.
All right, explain to me APR, because APR is really very confusing when it comes to interest rates and buying a home.
Right, and driving here on the way, I actually heard a commercial from another company, and the company was advertising a 2.75% 15-year rate with an APR of 3.86%.
Right.
So people are saying, 2.75, 2.75, 2.75, it's a great rate. Well, it's not. What an APR is, it takes into account, it takes or a portion of your closing costs, and it factors in the closing costs into your interest rate to tell you the true cost of money. The problem is, so if you have $2,000, $3,000 in closing costs, or you're paying this wonderful thing called PMI, then your 2.75% factoring those other figures turns out to be 3.86%. And what's deceptive about that APR number is that it doesn't include all the closing costs. It only includes the service-related closing costs. So your actual cost of money can be much higher than a 3.86% APR. And like this other company's advertising, if you listen to the disclosures at the end, it's an FHA loan that is under 90% and has mortgage insurance and so on and so forth.
So if people go to you, you don't charge any fees, so therefore that APR is what, the same?
That APR is almost 100% identical to the actual note rate that you're going to get.
That's a pretty good deal.
That's a great deal.
That's the bagel loan.
That's the bagel loan.
That's the famous bagel loan, which is zero.
Zero, no closing costs.
No closing costs.
Yep.
Where do people call for the phone number?
314-324-4440.
That's not your personal cell phone number, is it?
It is my personal
That's
cell
your personal cell phone number?
Yes, you can reach me 24/7.
Who do we work with? We don't work with
Just me.
With you. You pass us off to some associate, right?
I don't pass it off to anybody. You talk to me, you deal with me the whole way through.
What's the website?
www.amcmort.com, or you can Google Stuart's AMC Mortgage, Stuart's AMC Mortgage, and you'll find me.
Stuart's AMC MORT.
It's amcmort.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stuart Rosenblum with the bagel loan. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
832, Big 550, KTRS.
Earning your degree from Arizona State University.